Hello and welcome back to The Shed and 10 Things About Writing. Today I'm going to talk about the thing that a lot of authors dread writing, and that is a synopsis. It doesn't sound like much, but trust me, nobody likes writing these, and yet they are absolutely essential if you are to present your work to anybody else. Now, there are several kinds of synopses. One which I'm not going to dwell too much on is the one that you write for yourself as part of the construction of your plot, in which you will perhaps plot your character's main journey and the things that are going to happen to them and the people that they're going to meet. If it's for your consumption only, then you can approach your synopsis writing any way that makes you comfortable. I know some people who write a 40-page synopsis of their novel, working out every encounter, every conversation, and then they just speed right through the whole thing and write it out. This is not the kind of synopsis we're talking about here. This is the kind of synopsis that you need to submit if you're sending your manuscript to an agent or an editor, or maybe an advance reader. It is the way that you prepare your potential reader for reading the whole of your book, and hopefully you entice them and you bring them in by giving them something that makes them want to read more. Most synopses that I have seen from first-time submissions are bad. And it's not surprising, because the synopsis is really hard to write and very few people give you much advice on how to do it. So I'm here to say the following, really. Approach your synopsis in a very cool and scientific way. This is not the place to impress people with your style or any advance reviews you may have had online, or an endorsement from your mum, or anything like that. It is simply a way of outlining exactly what your novel is to somebody in the trade who will be able to read between the lines and be able to tell what genre it fits into, what audience it's for, whether it is a big book or potentially a big book, which is going to sell lots of copies. It is not up to you to decide these things, but you need to give enough information to your audience for them to decide on your behalf. So, first of all, think of it as a school essay. In your introduction, which will be short because your synopsis does not want to go over, let's say, a page and a half of A4. So, first of all, you say where and when it is set, and who the main character is. So, it is set in present-day America. Your main character is a woman who works in a diner. That's the kind of level of detail you need to give just to set the scene. It's set in space in the 22nd century on a mining ship headed to the outer territories. It doesn't matter where and when, but you need to make it clear. If it's a genre novel, say so. If it's not a genre novel, say it's literary fiction, which is also a genre, and there's a whole conversation we could be having about that, but people like to know what kind of potential market they're looking at, what kind of potential audience they're looking at. If it's a kid's book, say what age range it is. If it's a YA book, if it's a crossover book, say so. You don't need to refer to any other books. You don't need to say, oh, it's like 50 Shades of Grey in space. Those sort of things are not for you to determine, and as part of a synopsis, they tend to sound glib and a bit annoying. So keep off the marketing talk and don't be a marketer here, because that's not your job. Your job is just to get somebody to read your book. In the main body of your essay, your synopsis, you need to outline your main character's journey without going into too much detail. You can keep off most of your minor characters as long as your reader knows who your main character is, what their projected journey is, what their challenge is, what their main conflict is, maybe what their main relationship is. But again, just in a few lines. You need not go into great detail. You need not go into motivations. You certainly need not go into subplots and minor characters, because otherwise what you'll find is that your synopsis gets very messy and it's no longer clear who your main character is or what the main thrust of your story is. This can be really challenging if you have a lot of minor characters or if you have a lot of subplots. But trust me, there is only so much that a person can take in on a synopsis alone. And so try to narrow it down as much as you possibly can. If it's a big, complicated story, then you can say so. You can say it's the story of a community of people on a mining ship on the way to the outer territories, if you want to, but you still have to get down to whose story it is, and there will be a main character, and you need to identify that person and that person's journey. You don't necessarily have to give away the end of the book. If there are lots of twists and turns, if your book is based on revelation and suspense, then you can allow some of that suspense to enter your synopsis. That's fine. You don't have to say everything that happens, but you do have to say most of it. You can end on a question. You can say there's a big showdown, X and Y come together in a dramatic finale if you want to. You don't have to give away everything, but give away enough for whoever is reading it to know what they're expecting. You're talking about giving them expectations and showing them how to enter into your manuscript with a little bit of help. If you watch something on Netflix, it's always nice to see the clip, the trailer. It gives you some idea. Well, this is kind of the same. Things not to do. Don't talk about market trends. Don't talk about potential sales. Don't try to sell yourself like a marketeer. Your story should be good enough to sell itself. And if the synopsis is clear enough and well enough written, it will make whoever is reading it want to read more of your work. This is not the place to show off either. It's not the place to be funny. You'd be amazed at how many people who have written a comic novel also write a comic synopsis because they think, oh, it's original. It will make my synopsis stand out. Well, yes, but not in a good way. You want your synopsis to stand out in a good way. It wants to be professional. Avoid the humour. Even if humour is an essential component of your novel, that's fine. All you need to say it's a humorous novel. Don't be funny in your approach. Remember that whoever is reading your work may have read 20 or 30 synopses, and at least half of them will have been people like you trying to be funny. Don't be that person. It can be quite annoying. In the same way, don't write in the first person as your main character. You'd be astonished at how many people try to do this. It's not a great idea. It doesn't help. Be as clear, as concise as possible. Strip your language clean. Make it obvious what you're saying. And make it short. If you can keep it to one side of A4, that's even better. Your book will be there to do the rest of the talking for you. Your synopsis is just there to get somebody to read your book. If it takes you 10 weeks to do it, and it's brilliant, it's worthwhile. So give it a few tries, run it past people in different ways, and ask them, would you read this book? Ask people who you can trust, whose opinions are worthwhile. And if the answer is a resounding yes, then you probably wrote a good synopsis. Next time I'll be talking about something different. Until then, see you later and good luck.